Okay. Well, you're gonna actually say.
All right, I'm calling us not to order for this informational session, excuse me.
Whoops.
Okay.
I have caffeine and caramel coursing through my veins.
So, ask if there are any questions on things on the.
Yeah, I guess we don't really need a public comment period, right?
No, but it's-
Does anybody have any public comments they'd like to share?
Well, I'd like to share something, but I don't have a speech.
That's all right. Any informal session of our informal session, so.
Well, I don't know if you all know this, but people in Redondo and Lawndale all got a flyer from Metro about how they're going to reconfirm the measurements. And they've had drones flying over, and they said they're gonna warn us when the drone gets too close to our backyards, that kind of stuff. But my comment as an engineer is, this program started in 2018. This is a little bit late to be confirming measurements after you've already picked a LPA, which, by the way, our cities cannot approve of. And I'm a retired engineer, and I've gone over and measured those parts of the road, so I'm really interested in confirming my measurements or your erroneous measurements. Okay, so I'm just holding my breath. And I don't know, did you guys, I know you knew, but did you guys even know that we had gotten those flyers?
No.
No,
Okay, so.
probably because we don't live there. I'm just suggesting.
The re-engineering or the re-examination of the engineering is probably, is started by District 2, is probably a start from scratch, relook at everything. And some of that's probably per your comments of, hey, I disagree with the calibrations and measurements. So they're starting this piece, the District 2 wanted with the engineering study warrants probably remeasuring all of these things.
Well, it absolutely does, but that's another reason why I think it was premature to select as an LCA, the one that was least defined in the DEIR. Okay, that's my comment,
There we go.
and it's less than 3 minutes.
Substantive non-comment. I like it.
But if I can just throw my
Ma'am.
fire into this fire, whatever.
No,
It's very possible that they're not going to validate everything you did. This is a new measurement. And so, I mean, I think we all have to take it as somebody coming in and making a new measurement, and it could be what they had, it could be what you had, or it could be something else.
And I'm waiting.
But that doesn't mean it will be wrong.
Would you like me to say something now or later?
Do you want to speak now or during Metro's piece?
I'll
Metro Service
speak during Metro's piece.
Okay. Any comments on the consent? I had one question. I saw money in there for seismic for the bridge. Is that new money?
For the Vincent Thomas.
For the
Bridge?
Vincent Thomas Bridge? There's like $80 million or something for seismic
Oh,
on
in
it?
in the
In
transportation
the
report?
transportation report?
Um,
I'm gonna have to get my glasses on.
I was just curious. I mean, to see eight-digit numbers start getting.
That get your attention?
Project that, I mean, I know some of us don't get up unless it's 9 digits.
I know.
I don't know. I'd have to ask the Caltrans folks. I'm sure Sergio, not to put you on the spot, but yeah, the 30.4 million for it's a component of the project that's already underway, but I don't know if that's new money or,
It's IJA money,
okay. It's,
What money?
the infrastructure,
Jobs
the
Act.
IJA that was passed by the Biden administration.
Mhm.
But is that within the current budget for the project or is it in addition to the budget?
It's an infusion to the project. So we're just wrapping up right now. We're wrapping up right now the project report for that, but it's part of it, a formula program. I could provide a little a breakdown of how that works out. But it's not like in addition to the current capital cost estimate, it's just part of the federal contribution to the project, if that makes any sense. It gets a little muddy.
In layman's terms, if it's a $10 project, is this part of the $10 or is this part of the $11th dollar?
It's part of the $10.
Okay, there we go. You lost me in infusion. But now you have infusion has begat confusion, which is now no more illusions. Look at that.
It's a general question, I guess. Maybe we'll have it when we get into it, but with everything that's going on with the infrastructure or lack thereof or impacts associated with the fires, I presume there's gonna be a whole recalibration of everything relative to, what are we spending and what do we need and all that kind of stuff. Is that a fair characterization? The reason I ask, obviously, I suspect, the priorities that we had before at year end may be different priorities now in 2025, given the fire and all the implications of that, or ramifications from it.
I think in terms of responding to the infrastructure damage and that sort of stuff, that probably comes out of potentially some emergency sources. But one would think that cities and government agencies would rethink funding priorities after something like this. But I think if a project's already committed and underway in a funding agreement and that sort of thing, it may not be paused to.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't expect to, if you've already got a project, you got a valid need for the project. do
Yeah,
the project.
Maybe those that are directly in the fire zone, like Las Virgenes COG, they might be looking at what their infrastructure portfolio is, but I don't know. It's a good question.
There's a correlated concern. The reason I highlighted this on the bridge is a very sensitive, time-bounded project, right? We've all come together to to hold our hands and say for 18 months, this thing is done, on the assumption that at 18 months and 1 day, we're driving across the bridge. And my concern was we might already be seeing side infusions as opposed to direct infusions. That is a direct infusion, so that's fine. But to see the project starts to go, full train, full green line extension, we're gonna have big problems.
I think Caltrans is very motivated to keep the Vincent Thomas Bridge schedule as is because it's tied to some of those federal dollars that have very strict time limits.
Well, per Bill's concern, I think that not so much on priorities of budgeting, but priority of work, we're going to see a lot of things. We'll be competing for very limited assets to actually get projects done. Because every
First we're
construction.
gonna try to
piece
do
of
one leg,
machine material.
and you're gonna see if you can balance.
Yes.
All of our projects, if we thought it was hard to put in a turn lane before, it's gonna get real hard pretty soon when all the asphalt on the universe is going to the northwest part of LA.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I don't know if there's an answer.
Probably,
to that, but-
premature. I was just, raising the observation and we need to think about it in the context of the big picture, right?
No, and I'm certain there's gonna be cost increases that are associated with a tighter construction labor market. Costs are already high for construction anyways. When you have a rebuilding of two entire communities in our general area, I'm assuming that there's gonna be spillover impact also. Or maybe new firms will pop up and.
I know the sanitation meeting on Wednesday and Thursday, I don't know what we're gonna be doing with landfills and hazmat is gonna be just a truly remarkable. We might have to buy Greenland just to take off.
And maybe that's something that we can have as a spotlight as we get through all of this, how we, as a county, respond to this.
All right, well, with that said, we don't have to approve our minutes and consent items because we don't consent right now. IWG.
They met last Wednesday. We went over the draft of the Measure R Highway Program, the Highway Program funding recommendations, which will be coming to you next month. A little preview, there were 3 projects that requested additional funding, 2 that were being deobligated following our summer exercise, and 1 that needed just a scope of work approval, change of scope of work approval. They were just wrapping into the same process. And so that you will be formally asked to recommend board approval of that next month. I think it was about 10 million in additional Measure R funding that was being recommended. The cost savings on the 2 projects that are being deobligated, it's a little early to give you an exact dollar figure. But based on the city's estimates of kind of their final invoices, it's about just under 4 million. So a little bit of becoming back into the program once those are closed out by Metro. But nothing, no mega money coming back in.
Okay.
And then
Transit was dark, right?
transit operators, they actually met on Thursday.
Oh, they did, okay.
No major updates there. Metro talked a little bit about their service interruptions and changes in response to the fire. We welcomed Lawndale Beat to the meeting for the first time. They have a new community services director who's getting acclimated to his new job, and his department runs the Lawndale Beat service in the city. So he came and introduced himself, and hopefully will be a participant in the group going forward. But I think that one was a pretty just informational item on their end. Torrance was going to be celebrating their 85th anniversary on Wednesday. It got postponed due to the fires. So there'll be an 85th anniversary celebration for Torrance Transit coming up sometime TBD. And Gardena is also celebrating their 85th anniversary. So mostly celebratory on that end, I guess. But that was it, transit operators. And then Dawn is not here today for the service council, but maybe Andy has.
Yeah, let's kidnap Metro for Metro time.
All right, so a couple things, I think first and foremost with the fires. As you know, obviously probably disruptive, horrible situation out there. We have suspended fares in our system, so Metro is free right now and into the foreseeable future. We, definitely affect here, but Union Station's actually been open to the public to sleep in. We've been having actually a couple dozen people sleep at Union Station every night. Several of our team members have had their homes burned down. DEMA is actually at Metro today, dealing with Metro employees who've lost their homes and providing resources. We've just in constant communication with everybody. The A line was down temporarily and it's now back up again. We're just, I think a couple bus lines have been canceled and rerouted. Nothing that affects the South Bay because everything's up north, obviously. But this has been obviously the big thing in the room for us since this all started, and we're just one of our colleagues had his home burned down in Altadena, so we're kind of dealing with that. For South Bay related items, other than the fires, I-105 pre-construction activity started last week, so all the way from the 405 going to Central Avenue. So that has officially started. That will be going on for quite a while. In terms of the C line, that was going to be one of my announcements today, is that the Metro has announced we're going to be doing some, as part of our FEIR, we're sending people out into the road to do surveying and topographical work in the right of way. We're not going to any private property, anything like that. It's just going to be fully in the row. Everyone's be fully identified with Metro gear. So that work is in response to all the comments we received during the draft. And so this is just part of the FEIR and just work that we're doing. So that's going to be commencing this month. The LAX Metro Transit Center, no big update on that. At the Service Council meeting on Friday, if there's a 1,000-point checklist that the PUC has to complete for us to begin operations between the Aviation Century Station to the south and the Westchester Station to the north, going to LAX Metro Transit Center. So there's two things here. There's the completion of the transit center itself, which is still under construction. And then there's the getting the approval by the PUC to operate the train to complete the K line essentially. So it's all ongoing. Every day there's hundreds of people starting at 6 a.m. down at the Metro Transit Center getting that ready. We're hoping it'll be done this quarter though. I think that
needs 12 weeks to be, is that right, from the CPUC?
Well, we started pre-revenue testing in November.
No, we're there.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, so we started pre-revenue testing in November. And so we've been doing the pre-revenue testing, which is basically just running trains without people on them. And so that's been ongoing, but again, the PUC, it's 1,000 points they have to check off. So, and we're kind of at their discretion on getting approval for that. So, once that's done, I know everyone here wants to take a tour, and we'll be happy to give a tour when it's ready, and you'll be the first people to know when there's a tour available for that. So I'll keep you all in mind for that. Our board meets the 23rd of the month. I do believe our committee meetings are virtual this week. I think they just announced that this morning. So we have our committees. There's an Olympic committee meeting as well on Wednesday. I think the board members will be at Metro HQ, but I think they're going to have a lot of the proceedings virtually. And I think that's it for my update.
Okay, Caltrans.
Good morning, everyone. Chris, just going back on the Vincent Thomas Bridge, I was reading the notes that you were commenting from the agenda. There was IGA money that was part of this project, but I believe as I was looking into the details of the agenda, it's talking about $30 million added. It's not really an additional $30 million that are added. When we programmed this project, the amount that we were anticipating to complete design was 20.9 million. At the December CTC, we added an additional 10.1 million or 9.46 for design, and that's just because we have a CMGC contractor on this project, and there's just additional design efforts that they incorporate into the project. So project's not delayed or anything like that. It's just a budgetary item that we went to CTC is like, hey, we need the $20 million, but in addition to that, we need an extra 10 to factor in these items that weren't identified prior to the project being programmed. So I just wanted to clear that up as I was reading the agenda items. So outside of that, I know David and I and Jackie were talking in regards to the quarterly updates that we'll be providing to the COG. We didn't convene during the December holiday season, so we'll pick that up starting this month to kind of give the team a better consolidated report that's understandable and digestible. But outside of that, I have no other updates for the time being. I did want to let you guys know if there was any projects in the COG that you wanted the PMs to come to the IWG or to this transportation committee, please let us know. Or if there's any special presentations you like Caltrans for us to present on, again, please coordinate with me and we'll have the appropriate staff members to report and provide any updates the COG is looking for.
Sergio, the design portion was under scoped by 50%?
It wasn't under 50%. So it's just kind of, so I'll try to keep this as simple as possible. So when we're allocating the next phases, like in this instance, design and right away, we have a mechanism. It's like you submit your funds request and it's essentially telling the CTC, it's like, hey, we need $20 million. But in this instant, because we have a CMGC contractor and just because there was, I think we requested additional money for traffic handling, public outreach, kind of some structure design updates. So there's, when we scoped the project 5 or 6 years ago, we anticipated the amount of effort and money that was going to be needed was 20 million. But in today's market, we needed an additional $10 million to wrap up the design work. So it's just kind of more of an administrative funding process that we have here within the district that we can request from Caltrans from CTC staff. So it's not that it was undervalued. I think it's just as a project developed, there's just some things that years ago we couldn't expect after the pandemic. But I'll gladly share with you, with the team, the request we sent over to CTC. So if there's more questions and the team like to read up on it, it's there. And I could also provide the link in the chat with the CTC outcomes and the discussions had on this item because it's outlined.
I suspect none of us will be. I mean, I want to do make work. I don't think anyone's going to pour through it. It's just an awkward. We report this out at our council meetings.
I think part of it.
I expect fascinating questions.
there's a much heavier public outreach lift, I think, than they probably were anticipating at the, like Sergio was saying at the beginning. They've had probably monthly community workshops and stuff like that. And so I think it's part of Caltrans. I hope that Caltrans will take into consideration that kind of heavy public engagement approach that might be needed nowadays, because on the first, I don't know if you guys remember that uproar when all of a sudden this project kind of landed in front of everybody. I think that kind of changed how they approached the public engagement portion of it. So they've had teams out every month doing meetings with multiple groups. So
Well, on that depressing note, we'll go to the Measure M policies and programs.
So we were hoping that you will be able to recommend board approval of this today, but I'm going to assume that we will end up, unless we get a fourth person, we will just bring this directly to the to the board for discussion and hopefully approval at the end of the month. But this is the culmination of summer's work, relooking at our Measure M, specifically our Measure M policies, and then the Measure R and Measure M local match criteria.
David, I don't want to be Debbie Downer.
Mhm.
This is probably the meat of what we do.
Yes.
Like, this is
Yes.
the meat of what we do. If we don't have a quorum now, can I recommend we do this in February and we can
Yeah, there's
bang the drum to get people in here, because this is,
Mhm.
we can't really have this meeting if this meeting is all about allocating these funds.
Right.
yes.
And if no one is here to know, and then we show up on a Thursday night with people who frankly don't know what we do, they're just gonna nod their head and be like, oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
I-
And then complain 6 months later when the project is funded.
Yes, there's really no rush to get it done this month. We were just keeping in the same.
No,
schedule we had.
I hate kicking things down the road, but it is, if part of what we are trying to ameliorate is thinly resourced cities not being able to fully participate in these funding mechanisms
Right.
and doing so without them here. It's almost like a postmodern exercise. I really think that we need to spend time getting, probably maybe we have some new council members who've been newly elected, who we can pull into this, but yeah, without, even some of our bigger hitters, like
Yeah.
Torrance and Englewood here, let alone some of our smaller hitters, I just don't think it does this thing the rigor that it requires. I mean,
Would you like to go over it still, or do you want to, because we kind of went over it last month, I think.
I have a feeling that us, with the exception, of Ann, all know it. Right? I mean,
I hope, that makes me feel good. that you guys are-
we all know it because we've been a part of the,
Yes.
the deliverable. I mean, Holly could probably give the presentation at this point. But we really need the troops here to sort of hear it for the first time and digest it.
I concur with that. I mean, especially if you look at just the sheer volume of money out there.
Mhm.
Right? It does bode the question, I'd like to needle some of my colleagues and other councils, right? It's like, well, why are you getting this? And
Especially we have talking about enormous amounts of general fund funding that they could have to put up in a matching piece for some of the larger infrastructure projects. That is going to blindside people if they're not participating.
Can I bring up the fact that what I'm seeing in the new council members is people that have full-time jobs. And I'm wondering if we made this at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something, if that would make a difference. And I don't know if any of you are willing to look at different times. I don't know what your schedule would make it, but it's just that I'm not sure this is a good time for a lot of people.
would that be after the steering committee
We'd
meeting?
have to do it the week before. It has to be before the steering committee. It seems to me. I don't know.
But yeah, I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, we've had 2 meetings in a row where we didn't have quorum, or we just barely had quorum. And that does bode the question, why? I mean, again, you're right. We're spending, we're allocating funds to how many cities, right? And you've got some representation, but certainly not much.
To be fair, we have to say to Annie, that people, we had no problem before, but the people that were coming did not get Not
Term limited, yeah.
They were term limited. So what's happening is, and several cities haven't responded with their new delegates. So we're in a funny position right now.
Yeah,
So-
most cities don't appoint delegates. We'll appoint delegates at this meeting for February service, so it might just be threading a needle right here.
Yeah, but what I'm noticing is, like the two RPD people, they're both full-time. They can't, they're gonna try to come to the steering committee. Well, they can't come to this one at 10:30 in the morning.
Your question, Jackie, about before, or after steering, I think
It
the only
does matter?
reason it might have to be. Occasionally, there's that emergency. Where we might want the steering committee
The way in,
to weigh in, but.
Yeah.
I don't know if wouldn't this committee have the same sort of emergency action sort of ability as the steering committee? I mean, it's.
I guess what we've done before is we've had the steering, if it doesn't pass here, we take it to the steering committee. I don't know, we could think about it, and does it pay, is Monday a good day? At this time of day a good day? Should we do a doodle poll? Is there something we should be doing? Because that just, it's been in my mind about this particular meeting.
Would offer, that probably goes back to this meeting, but also the steering committee meeting as well, right? If we're not getting the level of representation we need, then, what do we need to change?
We haven't had a quorum problem there because it's noon, and maybe at this meeting on another day. I don't know.
Lunchtime meeting?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, again, do we put it out there at this point? I mean, like you said, we're in a state of flux, right, as far as new council members and whatnot, but. Let's ask, maybe it's again, ask the question, if this doesn't work, what will?
Yeah.
But we, recognizing that some people are just gonna have even trying to schedule meetings in the city, right, is a challenge, right? But.
I don't know.
What about your schedule? Can you make it, is it an afternoon meeting?
I mean, I've winnowed this one in pretty, like, I've just kind of factored this in
Yeah.
at this time. So I'm probably, Bill and I are probably an outlier in this, and that we just kind of have this bolt hold into our month. We could try to do, we could almost do a little bit of a test of, if we were gonna run this back next month, do it the Thursday before. That put us the first Thursday of the month
That's a
First-
SCAG date, but I don't
at
know.
noon. When's SCAG meet? I don't know.
SCAG meets the first Thursday, but it only involves a few people, I think. I don't know. But
They tried it at like a lunchtime,
Thursday at noon, that would be February,
just yell at people that like, this one's important. This is your money.
right, that would be February 6th.
Yeah, and we'll just let them know that, hey, if you're not here, then maybe we're gonna reallocate. Might get their attention.
Somebody was telling me that, I don't remember which subregion it is, but they were saying that their cities have to attend meetings to be able to get the Measure R and M money from the subregion.
Oh, wow.
And so maybe the more often you come, the more high your project application score,
Or your match goes,
or your match goes down or something.
would February 6th at noon work? I have to change time.
That works for me. But I don't, I'm just throwing a dart at a dartboard right here. I just think it's, I guess to reiterate, there's so much at play. There's new council members. People may just be getting their delegation done, maybe even that Tuesday or Wednesday. So there could be people who are brand new to it, but it is the fuel that runs this machine, is that the money that we're gonna be allocating.
That specific one, I have a conflict for, but Jackie.
But it does bode the question, if we didn't have to have it before the steering committee or whatnot, the observation is, we have a fair amount of people that show up for the steering committee. How onerous is it to sit around for another half an hour and a half or whatever for the transportation committee?
So make it at 2:00 on the,
Yeah, I'm just suggesting that, you've already got them here, right? And if the challenge is getting them here, at least they're in the room. And maybe it's okay, instead of come early and stay for steering committee, you're at the steering committee, stay for transportation.
That's kind of the thinking, I think, why we had it before, hoping that people come and then stay.
stay,
for
right.
Stay for steering, but maybe we need to try the inverse and.
and then the other thing is, what about like 5:00 or 4:00?
That gets more of a challenge, just in general.
Yeah, you're right in the meat of circus at that point.
Okay,
It's just
okay.
right between the lion and the.
And then I suppose there's also 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah, so again, maybe what we do is just for February, we try it after the steering committee meeting and see what kind of.
Yeah, how about that?
participation we get.
That's right at
Can you
what,
do that?
I could do that. The steering's done at what time? 1:30?
So 1:30 to 2.
I could give that a go.
I mean, we can see what happens.
Well, instead of doing that, should we send something out that says, we're having trouble with the quorum? We have the opportunity to do the February meeting at the same time at 2:00 at the Thursday, the 6th. Would that make a difference? Which is your preferred time? Would you like that?
I just don't know if we even are sure who to ask yet, because we probably don't have delegates.
Well,
So we get probably bad data.
we have something from everybody. We have delegates from every city.
Oh, we
You're
do?
saying whether they change is the question.
Yeah, I
stay
suspect that's
on
the thing,
top of
could
that.
be in flux.
I mean, I like the idea that the meetings are coupled. I'm just suggesting that, if we couple them and flip them, okay, what happens? That may be I'm just thinking that may be the path of least.
Why don't we ask the people at the steering committee today? Because they're the ones that are gonna come and have to stay.
Yeah,
That's fine.
there we go. Would you be willing to stay?
Yeah, yeah. And maybe they just find the subject uninteresting. I don't know.
Well, I think that when we call it transportation, they might, when we say,
Your money.
projects above 50 to 75 million, I mean, if your average project is $7,000 in your city, that'll get their attention.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, maybe it's just like, hey, this is what we were discussing today. So it's real money to your cities. Are you interested?
Yeah.
Might want to have a rep here.
Yeah, if nothing else, we'll get public works directors there in a heartbeat. And
I think 4 wouldn't be too hard to get, but. Okay, so we'll work on that. I don't know if you want to postpone like we have Jake and Ann here to do the local travel network.
yeah, let's do that.
I would like to request, at least for this item, just for our office to get a briefing. Because I'm new, I haven't been briefed on the conversation so far.
So you're saying wait and brief your office? Or?
Oh, no, I'm just saying outside of this.
Yes, we are gonna get.
Since we're
Definitely.
continuing to the next month, that's helpful for our office, so we know.
Yeah, definitely.
Just don't tell District 4. Just don't tell District 4.
Okay.
I'm very jealous of those things. Tell them it's about the 710.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
they start shaking and.
I'll have Ann set up a meeting so we can
Excellent,
do
thank you.
overall orientation and.
And then catch up. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, so for the LTN, we usually give you updates anyways on the project. And maybe some of the new grants and everything that we've been getting, but we wanted to give you all kind of a holistic overview of where we are and what the different elements of the grants are doing for the project. So we've asked Ann and Jake to prepare an update. Focus slides real quick.
While you're doing that, can I say, I have been trying desperately to get a hold of that attorney at the city of LA to get that one stretch of West Main. He never calls back,
Really?
never. I probably left him 100 messages. He
Well, if
must,
Tracy Park wasn't so busy, maybe you could get to her.
I mean, it is 150 yards
know.
road.
I know.
It's unbelievable.
What he's talking about, is this Mitchell's district?
Yeah,
Segundo? What he's talking about is the local travel network has, local neighborhood electric vehicles can only travel on streets of 35 miles an hour or less. City of El Segundo has a 35-mile-an-hour street that for 150.
in this little square right
Right.
here, that little connector.
Is City of LA and it's 45 miles an hour or 40 miles an hour, whatever it is. And all they need is 150 feet and they won't change it.
It's got to go from 40 to 35.
Oh, and then it's in the middle of it's interrupting.
Yeah, it goes from our street to their street for that little cut out in that right angle there.
Yeah.
And we just need to, if you would lower the speed limit 5 miles from 40 to 35, we can include it.
And the reason they're saying no is they're saying that if the gate is closed.
So at nighttime, the beach right here, they close the gate and he doesn't think there's enough room if your golf cart gets down there to make a U-turn to go
But there
back up.
is. There is enough room, right? Yeah, there's plenty of room. I don't know
Unless
if
you've got
they've
like a
seen it.
golf cart that I can't, super awesome
Yeah,
golf
so
cart.
I don't know.
A limo.
I don't know if your office can help us with this, but this
In a
is like
run
the
style.
stupidest thing.
City?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a reason why you're going to the attorney's office?
He's the one who told us no.
Yeah, the attorney said that we can't, the liability is too great because they can't turn around, but no, he hasn't looked because that's not true.
I think it'd go through LADOT or.
Yeah, we talked to LADT. It's inertia. I think it's called inertia.
I mean, it is honestly, it is so dumb that I have to think that he's probably like, this is so dumb. I'm not even gonna, I mean, it's gotta be just beneath, shining his shoes on the level of things to do in a given week. And so be like, I'll get to it later. And I don't blame him. Like, it is really dumb. I mean, it is really dumb, but it's sort of like, I just want to go spray paint it, like,
And it's the access to the beach. I mean, it's the legal access to the beach. That's the other thing, people are doing it because it's so obvious to just go.
The council office hasn't been responsive.
Yes.
it's not Dock Wild. It's not Dock Wild.
It's-
It's euphemistically called El Segundo Beach. It's technically in the city of LA. But it's one beach down from Dock.
We can reach out to the office.
Yeah, the one that Grand ends on, that little parking lot.
Yeah,
Yes.
Elevate this up.
that would really be helpful. Anything we can do because it's so stupid. We just need to get it done.
We've even got a sign they can use. I will take a 35-mile-an-hour sign from somewhere else. I will trade it for a player to be named later.
Don't do it in the middle of the night.
But that's fine. That's fine. I've got a shop class at the high school. They'll make it.
I'm so, we're still working on it.
Oh, yeah.
Becky, can someone send me an email of the map and the actual,
Yeah, can you guys, Ann and
of the ask?
maybe, I don't know, do we have our correspondence? I don't know if we have our correspondence.
He must think that I'm like a spam caller. I'm like, oh, what's that number? Don't know, unknown caller. Trying to sell them
Pick up.
solar panels.
Yeah, you do. It's like.
Yeah. Most of this information will not be.
You probably need to speak up, especially because we've got this thing going.
Yes, but we just wanted to give you an update going through all of the cities that are actively implementing the LTN. So we'll start with Lawndale because they have the freshest news. Last week, their city council moved to approve staff to write and submit a measure of application. So we will be working with the public works team this month to write and submit that measure of application, which is really exciting. For Redondo, El Segundo, Carson, Lolita, all of them are working some capacity on funding agreements. Redondo has said that they plan to bring on a construction contractor by end of fiscal year. We are waiting for them to bring this item to council to approve the final route refinement. They're doing all the design in-house. El Segundo also working on their funding agreement. They have some capacity issues to begin work on the phase 2 gap analysis. So that their project is divided into 2 phases. The first phase is, the regular LTN signs, sheriffs, payment, whatever. The second one, it would be a gap analysis on Douglas, which is a heavier lift. The city of Carson.
And the Douglas gap analysis is because there is no legal way right now for a neighborhood electric vehicle to leave El Segundo and make it a network. We can't get out of El Segundo. So Douglas is one of those opportunities where if we could figure out how to do that, we have created the access to Manhattan Beach and Hawthorne and every place else. It's very important, but it's very difficult.
Carson and Lomita have just started working on their funding agreements because their applications were just approved in September. And so as we've been communicating with cities, something that has come up is that a lot of staff are strapped for capacity and have come to us to ask us how the COG can help them move these projects along. So we are entertaining an LTN city working group to gather all these cities together, see what they can learn from each other and how we can best support them moving forward.
And if I can, excuse me,
Yeah.
but the one reason why I think this is going to be very, very important, I've had discussions with Elias, for example, from El Segundo. Cities are strapped and they come to us. We don't know, we have no we're not engineers. So would it help, and I don't want to do this unless they say yes, for us to get a bench, for example, that we could do the RFP, we could put all of the city's needs on, and we could have firms that they could go to. Does that help, or would cities not use it? We've tried this kind of thing in the past. It hasn't, cities haven't used it. So what we want to find out is what tangible things we can do to help them, understanding we're not engineers. We can facilitate, we can create meetings, but we can't do more than that.
Okay, next is our Carson to the Sea project. This is the Caltrans grant that we received in this past cycle. So the timeline of the project, in fact, it started in November. I believe it'll go through July of 2026. And the scope will include a gap analysis within the city of Carson. There's about 18 miles of street that are too high speeds or not suitable for micromobility devices. And it's really causing issues, even connecting people within that city. And second part of that is a corridor planning study from Carson through Lomita into San Pedro, connecting all of those. You'll see those orange lines there. That'll be the bulk of the gap analysis. And then the third is community engagement. We have allocated money to do pop-up events that will include ride and drive, micromobility showcases.
And so a quick question on the order planning, what's involved in that? I mean, what is the gap analysis or whatnot? I mean, given that we've got 3 cities, are you asking anything from Lomita, or how's that work?
So we know the solution. The solution will likely be protected lanes. But we to hire a consultant to come on and to do the design and planning for that. Lomita is definitely a partner. And I'm not sure about the details yet, but we will be reaching out to the public works staff.
It'll probably be a mix between meetings with public works staff and maybe some community groups to figure out what are the types of solutions that are available to fill in those gaps. Because right now, the uniqueness of the LTN is that we're mode agnostic. So we want to try and build the infrastructure to accommodate everything from an e-bike and an e-scooter up to a golf cart size. And so putting in a protected bike lane isn't a solution that will also allow for the golf carts to use the lane.
Not big enough, right?
It's not big enough. And so the initial thought is essentially a bike lane on steroids. So a protected lane that might be a little bit wider to allow for an NEV. But that doesn't exist today. And so it's the kind of engineering and the thinking through of what something like that would look like. And maybe through that process, it's not that, but that's what kind of the analysis is that we're hoping to get through.
Well, Lomita was just awarded, what, $6.5 million, I think, something like that.
Yes.
But so it poses the question, if we're off going out and thinking about what that wants to look like.
So the money you were awarded is for all of the essentially the purple lines that we know for sure are LTN eligible, friendly, good streets to use. And so it's filling in how does Lomita get to San Pedro, maybe along Western Avenue or something like that we'd be using the Caltrans money for. So you don't have to tap into your local money for that. And then when we have that solution, the city would come back and ask for some additional money to build that new connection.
Yeah, I was just making the observation, if we're gonna go, looking at what that solution wants to look like, we probably want to look at it from what is it today and what's it gonna be tomorrow? Don't go put in bike lanes if it's gonna be a, golf cart lane, you know what I mean?
Right. And I think that's why we want to make sure that we're looking at it kind of holistically, is that a protected lane is a very expensive thing to put in. And if you're going to then go and take that out 5 years later to build a golf cart lane, maybe it's not a protected lane today, doesn't make sense kind of thing.
That's kind of why I was just,
exactly.
let's look at the,
Right.
look at this in any number of different facets to make sure we don't have to go and redo it tomorrow. Right.
And I think the goal is to kind of take what we learned in this corridor area and extrapolate that out into other gaps that are in the network in other cities, because it's not just this section of the South Bay that has gaps that need to be identified. Like we mentioned, Douglas has some in El Segundo, Gardena and Hawthorne have some, and so pretty much anywhere there's a fast moving arterial, likely is there's some sort of gap created somewhere. And so we're hoping this will be our kind of guinea pig for a
Okay,
network wide solution.
we'll take guinea pig. It's all good.
I had a question. So there's not currently any best practices related to the two typologies that facilitate golf carts on high-speed arterial roads?
I think there are that are golf cart only. And so there, I think in Lincoln, up in Northern California, there's where they're more golf cart communities, or in like Coachella Valley, where they're separated off of the main arterial sort of thing. What's unique about our project is that we're doing it within the existing right of way pretty much that's built out, and trying to be mode agnostic to where any type of micromobility device could use the lane, as opposed to having it just exclusive to golf carts or just exclusive to bikes and smaller. So I guess I'm saying that we might be able to use existing things and tweak it a little bit, but I don't think that we've found anywhere so far that has a mode agnostic protected lane or solution to kind of what we're looking for. The golf carts, I think, are the anomaly to what is mostly planned for in transportation.
Oh, I see. And is this the first time that there'll be a study to explore those modalities sharing a lane?
I think so. I think to our initial research, I think it's the first one that would exist, because there's plenty that are protected bike lanes. That's pretty standard. There's golf cart lanes. That's pretty, it's not common, but I think it's understood at this point. But how do you merge those two?
I meant with cars.
With
This is the first time where a road will be sharing with a car and a golf cart, for example.
No, because of
no,
shadows.
yeah, like in Lincoln, I think there's golf carts that, and even in South Bay currently, that's what we were talking about. You have to be on 35 mile an hour or slower. And so these are where there's not a 35 mile an hour or slower street. What is the solution to that section? So.
And part of the concept with local travel network signage is to lovingly divert golf carts from streets where they could legally be, but they aren't best suited. So ours would be in El Segundo, for instance, you saw that sign at the start, that is on Grand, because we prefer to not have them on El Segundo Boulevard, where we're going with a little higher rate of travel.
Is that on this one?
I was on the slide.
So our next grant that we're looking at is for many concerns received by this committee, steering committee, the board, and various community members and organizations, is the COG want to tackle the issue of e-bike safety. And the way we were able to do this is we were awarded a Department of Transportation Safe Streets for All Planning and Demonstration grant. So there's 3 initiatives in this grant. The first one being the planning component, which is developing a South Bay micromobility safety action plan. This would include best practices for operations of these vehicles, as well as highlighting HIN, high injury networks, where common collisions occur for these type of vehicles, and determining why. And this strategy this plan will be informed by 2 key strategies, which are the demonstration events. The first one is school sticker programs. I know we've talked a lot about it, but for those not familiar with it, a school sticker program is a program that requires all students who want to ride their electric vehicle or just regular bike to campus and park it on campus. Those students are required to take a certified safety course, and then they receive a sticker on their vehicle, which is a form of a registration. And so the COG doesn't have the capacity to run these programs, but what we are doing is creating a template with all the materials for school districts to implement if need be. We're already seeing school districts across the South Bay doing this on their own. And so we'd like to help them create a uniform one across the subregion, make it easier for those who haven't implemented already to start a program such as this. The second strategy that we're working on the safety action plan is micromobility community showcases. This pairs with the last grant of these 2 events will be combined. We're able to use the last grant's money for community events as a match. And so we were able to just beef up these community showcases. And these will have presences from vendors in the South Bay, as well as safety programs and officials, so that residents and particularly students, who are the largest demographic of these riders, they can come, they can learn about what vehicle is best for them, they can try them out, they can learn about safety practices from enforcement, as well as those educational courses. And very importantly, beyond the students, parents can learn. The parents are the ones buying their students these vehicles, and we've noticed a lack of education around what these students can legally drive. For example, there's 3 classes of e-bikes, which isn't commonly known, and the 3rd class is illegal for riders 16 years of age or under. And so it's important to educate the people who are buying these vehicles, what is the proper vehicle for their child and what safety needs they need to take into consideration. So that is how we're addressing e-bike safety.
Isn't there, I mean, part of that goes back to, isn't there a limitation on how fast the e-bikes can go?
Yes, the different classes have different speed limits, with class 3 going up to, I believe, 28 miles per hour, which is essentially a motorcycle with pedals.
And there's a new state law banning modification kits for it.
Yes.
So when I was in Sacramento this past week talking to Al, he's looking at doing an e-bike bill. So we probably need to, provide some insight on what would that bill want to look like. I mean, he was receptive, and he understands all of his communities are, have varying degrees of issues and or opportunities. So he was receptive to the idea. So, maybe what we need to think about is what that might want to look like.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And one thing I forgot to add about this is, what's key about this is for the LTN to work, we need large adoption of these types of vehicles. And we want that across all demographics. There's trikes for senior citizens who maybe can't use an e-bike. And through community feedback, what we've been hearing is that the biggest barrier of transition to these vehicles is the safety concerns and the public perspective around how these are being operated. So this is how it pairs into the LTN, is to create that large adoption. We need to make sure that people feel safe and comfortable riding these vehicles.
You need to be involved with the school sticker programs. I mean, one, it's schools, so they got plenty of money to do whatever they want. And 2, like, doesn't the market dictate that? I mean, there's tons of vendors who work with schools to do the training program and issue the stickers.
Mhm.
I mean, is the invisible hand working, and do we need to be involved in that?
The invisible hand is definitely starting to work. We have a series of partners that are those safety courses, such as I believe in El Segundo e-bike sense,
E-bike sense and pedal whatever.
pedal ace, yes.
Yeah, yours for only $100 to get your sticker.
But
An invisible hand is an invisible fist.
And there are also, like, the California Highway Patrol offers a bike safety certification that's completely free and online.
Oh.
Yeah, and so it's the part of why we want to create this template is for the school districts who aren't already on top of it, or those who are, but just maybe don't have the full range of information. We can provide those resources and a concrete template of how they can proceed with a program such as this and iterate as it goes on.
Are there any school districts in the COG that aren't, or within the COG's purview that you don't think know these exist?
One I've talked to is the Sentinel High School, or the
Okay,
high
yeah.
school district, the Unified. They have not, and they're very open to a program such as this.
So do they need us to do anything for that? To spend money? If they know about it, like, what are we spending money on?
The money we receive is to create the marketing materials to get to parents, to students, the safety presentations, as well as a briefing on the resources available, and then where they examples of how they can proceed from there.
Are school districts part of the COG?
We've started going to school districts because we were doing energy efficiency there.
Okay.
And there's programs for energy efficiency, and several cities give money to their school districts. So we figure that,
Eagle?
I know Manhattan Beach gives a lot of money to their school
It's a
district.
gift of public funds?
And so we don't, obviously, they're not our principal clients, but we do want to give them the resources as public agencies in the South Bay. And we're not going to go in there and do sticker programs in each one. We want to provide them with the materials and maybe do a universal sticker program so nobody has to reinvent it.
I mean, in the package, it includes that, the California launches first statewide e-bike voucher project, right? From what I understand, that's been tapped out with round one, right?
Right.
So is that simply, hey, here, go apply and get your 2,000, go buy an e-bike without any restrictions per se?
That is the status quo of today. You can purchase one without receiving any education on how to use it, whether it's legal for you to use it.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's go around, the DMV said they want nothing to do with it.
no, I got it. I mean,
Zero to do with it.
you know, I hate to say it, but my kid, you know, he's not a kid, but he's 35, right? He zooms over on his e-bike after Christmas, right? Hey, Dad, look what I got. And it's like, not wearing a helmet. I'm going, oh, this is all bad. You know, I mean, thinking back, way back in the day when I used to ride motorcycles, right? But again, just, you know, there's a lot of opportunities. I'd hate to think, and that was my observation to Al. Unfortunately, you know, it may take some accidents, if you will, to, you know, get people's attention that this is a potential problem.
And there have been accidents, unfortunately.
And yeah, that's precisely what we're trying to avoid, is trying to be more proactive than reactive. When we were looking into school sticker programs, Ann and I met with Carlsbad Unified School District in Irvine, and they have entire district-wide uniform sticker program that came out of some very unfortunate accidents, in which then they partnered with the police department, and the police department actually held those safety courses.
Yeah, their assemblywoman, I think, sponsors the bill, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we had some e-bike rider going down the street yesterday. He had his helmet on the back, just kind of, you know, not on his head where it would help, but.
My point is not that e-bikes are an area of safety opportunity. It's that
No.
we as a COG are applying for money. We have money to apportion to this. And funding things for non-members that the market can easily, I mean, Pedal Force or whatever, they got marketing materials. Like, I don't need to buy their marketing materials. Especially for $100 a pop for a sticker. That's a pretty good margin on their marketing. So, I mean, if the horse is out of the barn, the horse is out of the barn. But if we're going to be applying for these things, I think let's make sure we're rigorous about.
I think we want to look for the gaps where we don't see the coordination going on. Because it is affecting people's ability to want to purchase this and then use our local travel network. So there's a nexus there, and we just have to figure out that we're filling in any gaps that aren't existing.
That's fair.
And just to remind that the sticker program is one initiative of this grant. The community showcases is another strategy that we're trying out, and the COG has very eagerly wanted to hold community ride and drive events to give people the opportunity to actually be face to face with the vehicles that they're potentially going to purchase.
But just so I'm clear, is the sticker program only marketing, or is the COG now administering a unified sticker certification program?
No, we do not have the capacity to be the administrators of it. We are handing everything up until that point off to the school districts, including the presentations they'll need to conduct, the marketing materials, the formats, and the resources so that they can choose. It's an implementation package. It makes it easier for them to choose. We want this approach. We have everything we need to start it now.
For schools to implement
Yes.
and then give out the stickers to their students.
Yeah, so those two jabronis live on my street. Pieces, right? My daughter's probably just out of the frame. But what happens if you show up at school and your bike doesn't have a sticker on it, then they take your bike, right? But to get the sticker, you have to show that you certificate of completion of one of these courses, show up with a lock and a key to the lock, also a component, which is usually the missing part. And they inspect your bike to make sure it works and it's not a Super 73 like that Winter's using right there, which is totally illegal for him.
Does it cost $100?
What's that, the sticker?
Yes.
Oh, that course, the Pedal Force course is $119, but a 50% discount if you do it before June. The e-bike safety one, I think, is $50 and available twice a month. But this highway patrol one, which I'm eager to go find, it sounds like it's free.
But the ones that will be administered by the schools, will the school charge the parents?
So it depends. We've seen schools fund it through different mechanisms. Some is entirely out of pocket by the students that pay. Usually Pedal Ace and E-Bike Sense will offer a discount when they partner with the school district. Where that money comes from depends. Some comes from the Education Foundation. The El Segundo Police Department has a grant to offer classes occasionally for free. So that picture right there is a free course on a Saturday morning, put on by the police department with E-Bike Sense. And we could be a potential up down the line is that as e-bikes proliferate, some schools may not have the funding to offer this kind of program to students. So we also want to help direct school districts to potential funding sources, you know.
Mr. Chair, do we now have a quorum?
I don't, you don't want to,
We do, if you just wanted to approve the minutes or something like that.
but he hasn't read them or anything. I mean, it just seems like it would be inappropriate.
I think that would be as cheeky as our backing into it last time was.
Just asking.
Anyway, I didn't mean to derail.
The final grant we're going to discuss is, we are currently in the process of completing this application. It is due January 22nd. But this is the same grant that we discussed prior, that's the gap analysis, but it is for a different cause. This will be analyzing the parking in the South Bay at key destinations. And we found that that's one of the key elements of that the local travel network is missing, is we want the network to get you to the places that you commonly go. And those high frequency destinations don't necessarily have optimized micromobility parking. And by creating this infrastructure, not only does it provide security for these vehicles, which theft is a common issue, but it incentivizes the use of these vehicles to get to these destinations. As again, this all goes back to the study we conducted that found 70% of South Bay trips are 3 miles or less. So any way we can further incentivize micromobility as a mode of transportation to these destinations is key. So what we'll be doing is first step is to identify these destinations and rank how their infrastructure in terms of micromobility parking and access to the local travel network. But then we'll be directly engaging destinations to implement micromobility parking infrastructure. And Fair and Pierce has already created, as part of the LTN, a parking playbook. And we'll be converting that into direct implementation guidelines for at least three destinations that we've outlined and who have committed to potentially implementing something like this. And so we'll be creating modular plans for them to implement micromobility parking.
Can I give you something to circle and make sure that is in that playbook?
Absolutely.
Right now, there is no ADA guidance on how wide golf cart parking has to be. So as a result, in a voyage to governmental stupidity, we have golf cart parking in gigantic parking spaces, which succeeds only in infuriating people who park their F-350 in your golf cart spot, just to show you how dumb it is to have a golf cart spot that's as wide as a truck. So if we can include something that gives some cities cover into how to make things appropriately width, so you can have 3 and 4 golf carts parked within the width
Well,
of
is
2
this
parking
for
spots.
Mayor Suchi's legislation?
I don't know what
Is
it's.
that, would you need legislation for that?
I don't know. There's currently, Pierce, there's no guidance as to what the ADA says about those parking spots. There's plenty of ADA guidance on normal parking spots. So as a result, we end up with really, really, really excited people who are excited to see your NEV only parking spot. And so excited that they put their F-350 in it. So let's please make sure in the parking playbook, we have guidance that gives cities a little bit of cover into how to implement those things, because otherwise they're just gonna get rid of them.
That's a very good idea.
And if there's grant money available for bespoke bike racks that fit sort of the unique wheel configuration of electric bikes, or something that allows people to lock up their battery to it, because that's the most commonly stolen piece, that would be useful too.
Sounds like we have a resource here that we should.
Oh, I can go for hours on it.
Okay.
I'll just start forwarding you the emails. Directly, a full leaf blower. Oh, wait, no leaf blowers, leaf blower ban.
But we really recognize your idea of parking we need different kinds of safety, security for a bike, an e-bike, and nobody's paying attention to that.
That's right.
So
If you just lock up the front tire of an e-bike, you're gonna have the front tire of an e-bike. It's all yours.
Well, this is really, we want to use user resource. That's fantastic.
Want to buy a tire?
That's right.
So that we should go on to the next topic, since we're managed to almost get to the end.
Next up is, if there's any interesting topics that you guys would like us to,
Can I ask one more LTN piece? Of course. In phase 2, this is once again, make it all about me. The El Segundo phase 2 portion, is there any other, 2 things on it? Well, one, just the El Segundo piece. Phase 2 connecting, besides Douglas, connecting on the beach route?
That's a little bit more difficult. We'd probably have to use a service road and we'd have to work with Mitchell's office.
So there is I'm
Yeah.
gonna beat up District 2. Can you pull that map?
The one that was on the cover page of that.
Yeah, I'll use my fork of destiny.
Let me,
Fork of destiny.
So right here along the beach, there is a county service road,
Right.
long since unused, which is the perfect width for golf carts and electric bikes going each way, which would keep them off the strand where people walk their dogs and don't want to get hit by people on electric vehicles. The problem is right now it goes by a peaker plant and a part of a Chevron usage piece. It's basically an unused road, but it is my dream to see this fully developed at some point as a part of phase 2. We just don't really know how to get there yet, right?
so it sounds like, yeah.
Which would lead me into part 2. If we did do an RFP for overall engineering services on a network, we can include that in and figure out how much it costs to do it.
Right, but we'd also have to make sure the supervisor was helpful because the first answer we're gonna get is no. You know that. I mean, that's what, that's what happens.
District 2 is full of dreams and optimism.
No, I'm talking about from beaches, for example. First answer we're gonna get from beaches is gonna probably be no.
Really, you think? I mean, that's NRG is the only one sitting right there.
Well, I don't know, something new. So, no, but I'm very excited that you're this excited about the LTN. I mean, this is fantastic.
Oh, it gets my children out of the house.
Yeah. That'll be our tagline.
You have an ulterior motive?
Yes, it'll start with 10-second audio of them. They may get them out of this house.
This is fantastic. No, we will work with you definitely.
Is there appetite for an region-wide RFP for engineering for this?
We don't know because I've talked to Elias about it. I think he might be interested, but we really need to talk to the other cities and figure out how that would work and how they'd use it, because I don't want to do something that nobody's gonna use.
Part of the issue is that we could do the RFP, that kind of stuff, get the extra manpower there, person power there for the staff. But we don't have the ability, if they don't have time to review plans and all that kind of stuff anyways, how much are we actually doing we're saving them the process of an RFP? And so that's why I think we need to really dive into with all the cities.
We need to know if there's a minimum level of interest in it.
Yeah, and what in our abilities can we do that will really help them?
You have one consultant do the plan and another consultant review the plan.
Complete, go in a circle, even better, all for the benefit of El Segundo Beach.
Right.
Great.
No, but
Right.
this is a really big problem because El Segundo is a fantastic community that is using micromobility right now. But you cannot legally get out to Manhattan Beach or anywhere else. It's completely locked in. So these connections are really, really important.
I will follow up, I guess, on for the RFP. Maybe I'll do get in preparation for getting people here next month. We can ask if sort of see the ground and see if there's other appetite into engineering an entire network. Okay, sorry, next item was.
Next up, if you have any ideas for presentations you'd like us to bring to the committee, feel free to always send them my way and we'll try and coordinate something.
We are going to bring Express Lane back. We had all these questions.
Requested to have somebody at the next transportation about that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like we might be moving the date, so.
Oh, yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
So Express Lanes is one thing. Anything else that you guys want to talk about?
Did I connect you with the people at Parallel, who are the autonomous railroad shuttle fleet?
I think you sent me a link to something, but.
And introduce
if you have
that
a
guy?
person there.
Yeah, it was the idea of all of the issues that we think of with congestion on the 710 and shuttle traffic getting up to Santa Fe Springs from the port.
Yeah.
There is an innovation. It's in the city of LA right now, but it's their headquarters. But they do basically autonomous rail cars just to do the shuttle spur to speed up efficiency on it.
Oh.
I thought it might be useful to us because even though the 710 isn't exclusively in our world, it dictates so much of our congestion issues or spillover from that. I will do a reconnection.
If you have a name.
Yep.
Because I did reach out to them for the General Assembly last year, just before this, and never got a response.
Well, I think they did their first pilot run on track from the port of Savannah up to Atlanta.
Would you like, the other thing is, would you like us to try to find speakers on goods movement, both coming from the ports and both what's going on with Amazon? We can.
I think that would be, I've been I would, just because the cascading from transmission to distribution is such an
Right.
impact on all of our surface streets.
So,
Whether
I
it's
mean,
electrified micro box trucks,
right,
all the way through it.
we might not be able to do it, not soon, but throughout the year. There's so many facets of goods movement that I think we should really probably bring to the group's attention.
I would certainly be happy to hear it.
Any other kind of big topics like that Jack is mentioning that you think of that I think the committee should hear and start learning about,
Right.
send them my way and we'll.
This is a one last one before I hold us completely hostage. Do we know, this might be something Metro might know, do we know if there's any data on what the wear and tear difference is from electrified vehicles on the asphalt? Because they're so much heavier. We have concern over some of the guidance about electrification of really things like our trash trucks and pieces that they are such a heavier toll on your asphalt. I mean, the weights are really sort of staggering, right? An electric F-150 is an 8,000-pound truck. I mean, you think of what, all of a sudden, if you have, 20,000-pound vehicles going up and down hauling your trash, we're going to be resurfacing at a far greater interval. I just don't know what that is. And I don't know if there's any data that exists yet on the wear and tear.
Yeah, I don't know.
It would certainly change our research.
Would AQMD or CARB have something?
We can look. I mean, there's gotta be some sort of information starting to be collected, because I mean, like, we already know that our guardrails on freeways are not built to handle full speed Teslas crashing into them. They're just so heavy that they're not engineered to withstand the extra weight. And so when you,
On the high side, a Hummer E3, there's an accident. That's a 13,500-pound car.
Right.
I mean, that is crazy.
which then it also feeds into the gas tax, that you have higher maintenance costs
Right.
associated with electric vehicles that then don't pay into the gas tax the same way that gas cars do. And
But if we were 4X and 5X the curb weight of a normal vehicle, I mean, that is going to, we're for us planning our capital needs and resurfacing,
Mhm.
that's gonna exhaust all of our SB1
Right.
and Measure A funds very, very quickly. If it cost me $7 million to do El Segundo Boulevard last year, I mean, that's for us, that's an every 10-year event. That's an every 5-year event. That's gonna bite.
No, it's a very good point. We'll look into that. We get a speaker maybe on that. Great.
That's all. Sorry, guys. So we are not adjourned from our non-meeting.
Right. So Rodney, you notice that we only have 3 people here. We're having a major crisis here with the Transportation Committee.
fine people, thank you very much.
We're gonna have to talk about it at the steering committee. And we've talked about